Have you ever wondered how something as beautiful as kindness could ever bring difficulty into your life? We are taught from childhood that kindness is a virtue, a path to love and peace. Yet, if it is not rooted in awareness, if it is not practiced with mindfulness, kindness can quietly undermine your well-being. When we are kind without boundaries, we leave ourselves open to exploitation. People may take our generosity for granted, expecting more than we can give. Like a tree that gives all its fruits without saving seeds for the next season, we can find ourselves drained, our energy scattered, our joy diminished. True kindness is not blind. It knows the rhythm of giving and receiving, the balance between self and other. There is another subtle danger. When we continually prioritize the needs of others while ignoring our own, we lose touch with ourselves. We may smile, help, and serve, but inside, a quiet unrest grows. Our heart becomes heavy with unspoken desires and unmet needs. We forget that our own well-being is the soil in which the seeds of compassion can flourish. If the soil is dry, the flowers of kindness cannot bloom. Sometimes our kindness is not even true. We perform acts of generosity, not from a place of love, but from fear of judgment, from a desire to be accepted. We speak gentle words to avoid conflict. We give to gain approval. In these moments, our actions may appear kind, but within there is tension and a subtle dishonesty. Kindness without authenticity is like a candle without flame. It looks bright, but it cannot warm. Kindness can also become a shield. We use it to avoid difficult conversations, to escape confrontation, to hide from the discomfort of reality. We may say yes too often, smile too brightly, or stay silent when necessary truth should be spoken. In doing so, we stop ourselves from growing. Life demands courage as much as compassion, and avoiding challenges in the name of kindness can quietly stunt our hearts and minds. Even when we practice genuine kindness, there is a danger of attachment. We may come to define ourselves solely by our generosity, measuring our value by what we give to others. When our identity is tied too tightly to kindness, we may feel loss or failure. Whenever our kindness is not recognized or reciprocated, our joy becomes conditional, fragile, and dependent on the actions of others. Kindness can also expose us to disappointment. We may hope that our acts of care will be met with gratitude or understanding, but the world does not always respond as we wish. Sometimes our kindness is met with indifference, criticism, or even resentment. If our heart clings to outcomes, we will suffer. True kindness flows freely, like a river that nourishes the land without demanding acknowledgement. In relationships, kindness can sometimes create imbalance. When one person gives too much and another receives too much, the natural harmony of connection can falter. We must learn to listen deeply, to offer support without losing our own center. Compassion without discernment may allow toxicity to enter our lives, quietly eroding trust, peace, and self-respect. Finally, excessive kindness can lead us to neglect our own path. We may help everyone, yet forget our own dreams, our own inner work, our own awakening. True kindness includes a gentle care for oneself, a mindfulness that honors both self and other. When we cultivate this awareness, our kindness does not diminish us. It strengthens us. It allows us to give fully without losing our roots, without emptying our cup. Kindness, when practiced with mindfulness, remains a source of joy and peace. But when practiced without awareness, without self-care, without authenticity, it can quietly bring suffering. Let us walk the path of mindful kindness. Let us give with open hearts, but also with clear eyes. Let us nurture ourselves as we nurture others, so that our compassion may bloom like a lotus rising from the mud, beautiful, resilient, and free. Kindness is often seen as an unqualified virtue, something that should be offered freely and without hesitation. Yet, when it is given without boundaries, can become a quiet invitation for exploitation. Imagine a river that flows endlessly without pause. At first, its waters nourish the land, bring life to the trees and flowers, and quench the thirst of every creature. But if it never rests, never returns to the source, it will eventually dry up the springs that feed it. In the same way, our boundless kindness can drain our energy, leaving our hearts dry and our spirits exhausted. When we are always available, always ready to give, others may begin to expect it. They may come to assume that our generosity has no limits, our patience is endless, that our compassion can withstand any demand. And while some will be grateful, others may take advantage of our openness, asking more than we can reasonably give, taking our time, our attention, and our emotional energy without consideration. We may not even notice at first, because our heart is trained to care, to serve, to give. Yet over time, the quiet accumulation of these demands can weigh heavily, creating tension, fatigue, and even resentment. This is not to say that kindness should be measured or rationed like coins in a purse. True kindness flows from awareness. It comes from a place of mindfulness and discernment, where we recognize not only the needs of others, but also our own limits. To be mindful is to understand that to help another without taking care of oneself is not true generosity. It is a form of self-neglect. Just as a candle cannot burn brightly if it is used to light everything around it without pause, our hearts cannot shine endlessly if we do not honor their need for rest and renewal. Boundaries are not walls. They are the gentle edges that protect our vitality and integrity. They allow our kindness to remain sustainable, so that it can be given fully, deeply, and without bitterness. When we learn to say no when necessary, to step back when our energy is spent, we do not diminish our compassion. Instead, we ensure that every act of kindness remains genuine, powerful, and life-giving. Without these boundaries, even the most sincere intentions can be distorted, leaving us vulnerable, overextended, and slowly disconnected from the joy that kindness is meant to bring. Kindness without boundaries is like an open door without a frame. It may welcome all, but it can also let in harm, imbalance, and exhaustion. True kindness requires the wisdom to know where to draw the line, the courage to protect our own heart, and the insight to offer help in ways that nourish both others and ourselves. When we embrace this mindful approach, our compassion becomes a steady flame, warm, enduring, and capable of lighting the world without losing its own glow. When we continually place the needs of others above our own, a subtle imbalance begins to take root within us. At first, it may seem noble, even virtuous, to prioritize the comfort, happiness, or well-being of those around us. We may feel a quiet satisfaction in our giving, a sense that our purpose is to serve. Yet beneath this surface, a small unrest quietly grows. Our own feelings, desires, and dreams are set aside, like seeds left unwatered in the soil, and gradually they struggle to grow. Ignoring our needs is not a failure of kindness. It is a quiet form of self-neglect. We may convince ourselves that our heart is large enough to hold the burdens of everyone else, but in truth, when our own heart is empty, we have little left to offer. This imbalance manifests in ways both subtle and profound. Fatigue that cannot be shaken, irritability that surprises even ourselves, a lingering sense of dissatisfaction that nothing external can fill. We may still smile and act with generosity, yet beneath that exterior lies a silent yearning, an unspoken longing for attention, care, and recognition of our own humanity. The danger of ignoring our needs is that it disconnects us from our inner self. We begin to lose touch with the quiet voice that whispers our truths, that guides us toward our purpose, that reminds us of our worth. If we are constantly outward focused, we may no longer hear this voice at all. It is as if we are walking through life with our eyes fixed only on others, blind to the landscape of our own heart. And when we lose that connection, our acts of kindness, no matter how abundant, lose their fullness. True compassion arises not from emptiness, but from a heart that is nourished, aware, and at peace with itself. To honor our needs is not selfishness. It is the foundation for sustainable love. It is the understanding that in order to pour into the lives of others, we must first nourish ourselves. Just as a tree must absorb sunlight and water before it can bear fruit, we too must care for our own well-being before our generosity can flourish. By acknowledging our limits, by listening to the subtle signals of fatigue or longing, we cultivate an inner balance that allows our kindness to remain vibrant, authentic, and life-giving. When we neglect our needs, we risk creating a heart that gives mechanically, a compassion that is heavy and strained rather than light and free. But when we nurture ourselves, even in the smallest ways, we awaken a kindness that is rooted in strength, clarity, and peace. From this place, we can engage with the world fully, offering our love and care without losing the essence of who we are. There is a subtle danger in kindness that is not born from the heart, but from obligation, fear, or the desire for approval. When we act kindly simply to avoid conflict or to gain acceptance, our gestures may appear gentle on the surface, but inside they carry tension, confusion, and even quiet dishonesty. We may smile when we feel resentment, offer help when we are exhausted, or speak soothing words when our heart is troubled. In these moments, our kindness is not a true reflection of compassion. It is a mask we wear, and wearing it can slowly cloud our clarity. False kindness creates confusion because it blurs the line between what is real and what is performed. Others may be drawn to our outward gestures of generosity and warmth, believing that we are open, strong, and untroubled, but those who look deeply may sense the subtle strain, the unspoken discomfort, the hesitation behind the words. We begin to feel split within ourselves, torn between our desire to appear kind and our inner truth. This inner conflict is like walking on a path where the ground constantly shifts beneath our feet. We are never fully stable, never fully at peace. In attempting to please or to avoid tension, we may unintentionally mislead others. They may rely on our words or actions in ways that are unsustainable, expecting more than we can give when our kindness is not authentic. It can create misunderstandings, misplaced trust, or unspoken disappointment. In our effort to maintain harmony, we may contribute to a quiet discord, a subtle imbalance in our relationships that leaves both ourselves and others unsettled. True kindness requires courage. The courage to be honest, the courage to say no when necessary, and the courage to act from a place of clarity rather than obligation. It asks us to listen deeply to our own heart, to recognize the difference between generosity born of love and gestures made to satisfy fear or expectation. When we cultivate this awareness, our kindness becomes clear, steady, and nourishing. It no longer confuses, it does not burden, and it does not deplete. False kindness, while it may appear harmless, carries a hidden cost. It quiets our own voice, blurs our intentions, and distances us from the clarity that allows true compassion to flourish. Only by returning to mindfulness, by aligning our words and actions with the sincerity of our heart, can our kindness become a force that truly heals, uplifts, and connects. In this way, kindness is not just an action, it becomes a reflection of our inner harmony, a mirror of the clarity and peace that reside within us. Even when kindness is genuine, there is a subtle danger in becoming attached to it, in allowing it to define who we are. When we begin to see ourselves only as the giver, the helper, or the peacemaker, our identity becomes tied to our acts of generosity. We may feel proud when our kindness is recognized or anxious when it is overlooked. We may measure our worth by the amount we give or the number of people we serve. In doing so, we risk building a fragile sense of self that depends on the reactions of others rather than the quiet truth of our own heart. Over-attachment to being kind can also prevent us from facing challenges that are necessary for growth. We may avoid difficult conversations, suppress our own needs, or shy away from conflict out of fear that it would make us appear unkind. We may comfort others when firmness or honesty is needed, or smile when we wish to speak a truth that might upset someone. In this way, our commitment to kindness can become a subtle cage, keeping us from the very growth, courage, and understanding that true compassion requires. When our self-worth is entangled with the approval we receive for being kind, every perceived slight, every criticism, every misunderstanding can wound us deeply. Our heart becomes restless, caught in a cycle of seeking validation while fearing rejection. Even the purest acts of generosity can be tinged with anxiety or expectation, and this weighs heavily on our spirit. We may still give, still care, but the flow of our kindness is no longer free. It becomes constrained, cautious, and conditional. True kindness is not fragile. It does not require constant recognition or affirmation. It arises from a deep understanding of our own heart, from awareness of both our capacities and our limits. When we practice kindness with mindfulness, we allow ourselves to give without attachment, to act from clarity rather than from the need to be seen as good. In this way, our generosity becomes a source of liberation rather than constraint, a force that nurtures not only others but also our own growth. By losing our attachment to being kind, we open ourselves to the full spectrum of life. We learn that growth sometimes requires firmness, that love sometimes requires boundaries, and that compassion sometimes demands courage. Kindness, when practiced without attachment, becomes a reflection of true freedom, free to give, free to rest, free to grow, and free to live in harmony with both ourselves and the world around us. Kindness is a beautiful and essential part of life, yet it is not without its challenges. When given without awareness, without boundaries, or with attachment, even the purest intentions can lead to exhaustion, confusion, or imbalance. True kindness requires mindfulness, a gentle awareness of our needs, a clarity in our intentions, and the courage to act with honesty and discernment. To be kind is not merely to give, but to give wisely, not merely to serve, but to serve with a heart that is whole and grounded. It is to understand that our own well-being is inseparable from the well-being of others. When we cultivate kindness in this mindful way, it no longer drains us, misleads us, or confines us. Instead, it nourishes our spirit, strengthens our connections, and allows compassion to flow freely like a river that sustains all life without losing its source. May we learn to practice kindness with clarity, balance, and love for ourselves as much as for others. In this way, our acts of compassion become not a burden, but a path to freedom, a way to grow, and a gentle light that touches the world with peace and understanding.